Hello every pony and welcome to Brony FanFics. Today, Applebloom and Scootaloo go to a movie by Neutralmilk. This is a comedy slash slice of life. So let's have a look at it, shall we? Okay. Applebloom and Scootaloo go to a movie by Neutralmilk. But Applejack, the little cream-coloured filly cried out to her older sister, "No buts, missy. I don't care if the whole school saw that movie. You ain't going." The orange mare stomped her hoof down on the hardwood floor on their farmhouse to emphasise her point. "But the whole school already did see it," she argued again. "Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were talking about it the whole day. Even Miss Shirley saw it. Me and Scootaloo are the only ones who didn't go yet." Her whining bothered Applejack to no end, but she had to be strict. There was no way she would possibly let her sister Applebloom see One in the Hoof. Those sappy romance movies only rotted the mind. Besides, it was rated R. There was no way she'd dare expose Applebloom to such trash at a young age. "Big Mac! Tell Applejack to let me go to the movie!" She gave her elder brother a pout, opening her large eyes as wide as she could. The red stallion pulled out his trademark hayseed that dangled from his lips. "Well, the truth of the situation is that you, my dearest sister, are far too young to see this film. Its adult content will surely scar a mind of your age or lead you astray in our modern equestrian society." He placed the hayseed back in his mouth, a smile on his face. The two looked at him dumbfounded. Their jaws dropped and eyes bulging wide open. Big Macintosh sighed. "I mean, nope." He walked away grumbling while the other two earth ponies shook their heads and regained their composure. "Now where was that? Oh yeah, Applebloom, y'all can't see that movie till you're older. Now go and play with your friends and go crusading or whatever it is y'all do all day, every day." Applejack turned and trotted away, leaving her filly sister to wallow in her own self-pity. Or whatever it was ponies wallowed in. I see what she did there. Applebloom let out a sigh and left Sweet Apple Acres to visit her friend Scootaloo, who was more than likely waiting for her in the clubhouse. "Hey Applebloom, what did your sister say about the movie?" An orange Pegasus filly yelled out. She excitedly flapped her wings, rising a small bit into the air, a wild smile on her face. She'd waited to see this movie for months. Now that Applebloom got permission from Applejack, she can finally. My sister won't let me go," Applebloom gloomily replied to her friend. "What?" The Pegasus dropped back onto her hooves, the smile fading completely. "What about—" "Big Mac said no too," Applebloom said, anticipating Scootaloo's reaction. She dramatically fell to the floor of the clubhouse and let out a groan. "It ain't fair! Why are the other ponies allowed to see it when I can't?" "Well, I'm not going by myself," she cried to Applebloom. "That's so uncool. What would Rainbow Dash think if she saw me there alone?" Applebloom groaned again. "Forget about Rainbow Dash. What are we going to do now?" Scootaloo walked over and looked down at her friend. "Well, we could go see it anyways." "What? We can't do that!" Applebloom cried. "I ain't allowed to." Scootaloo turned away. "Okay, I understand. I just didn't realize I was friends with a filly." She waited for it to reach Applebloom. Why do y'all just call me?" "I called you a filly," Scootaloo replied over her shoulder. A manipulative smile crossed her lips. She had her right where she wanted her. "I'm a big pony." The cream-coloured filly puffed out her chest awkwardly. "Oh, well, a big pony wouldn't let some pony get in the way of watching their greatest movie ever," Scootaloo concluded to her clueless friend. Yep, right where she wanted her. Before she knew it, Applebloom was back in the house telling Applejack about a sleepover Sweetie Belle was having. She felt bad for lying, but the overwhelming joy knowing that what she was going to see she was going to see the movie surpassed it. It was the perfect lie. Sweetie Belle had been sick for the past few days, leaving Rarity to take care of her while their parents were on another vacation. Because Rarity was so busy, Applejack and her friends hadn't a chance to see her or even hear about Sweetie Belle's illness. Scootaloo and Applebloom were set, so it seemed the only thing they hadn't accounted for was the movie theatre itself. When the fillies arrived at the movie theatre, they began to squeal in excitement. They rushed inside to find a massive variety of movie posters. Saving Private Pansy, $1 Million Foal, and Trot the Line were only a few of the cinematic wonders that were coming in the near future. Moonstruck? Applebloom's eyes met a poster with a mare jumping pointlessly in front of a large photograph of the moon. The Manhattan skyline shone brightly. It was somewhat gimmicky in the background. This some sort of documentary about Princess Luna? Huh? Scootaloo walked over to her friend. Oh, that? No, that's not... No, it's a movie with Cher. Applebloom cringed at the thought of Cher and fled the poster before its ugliness rotted her very soul. I think I'd rather see the documentary. They eagerly darted to the ticket booth, a small bag of bits in each of their mouths. They happily exchanged smiling glances and dropped the money on the counter. 2 tickets for 1 in the hoof, please. Oh, that was Scootaloo. No, it doesn't matter. Scootaloo's voice called up to the dark blue stallion behind the counter. Without any thought, he printed out 2 tickets and took them in his mouth. He placed the tickets on the counter and began to grab the bits. The mindless routine of his 8-hour shift catching up to him. Suddenly his eyes met the 2 excited fillies that reached for their tickets. Oh, sweet Celestia! The stallion dropped the money and swiped the tickets back. You 2 are far too young to see such a... He searched his head for a word that wouldn't get him in trouble. For such an interesting film. He printed out the 2 different tickets and handed them to Scootaloo and Applebloom, who grabbed them fervently. The super magical wondrous friendship adventures of Pinkles and Poodle? Scootaloo looked at the ticket she held in her hoof with great disgust. No thanks. Applebloom looked at her ticket, even more frightened. Moonstruck? She gave out a scream and threw it to the ground as hard as she physically could. Applebloom ran, screaming from the theatre, leaving Scootaloo to pick up the money. Outside, Applebloom had given up on her dreams to watch the movie. It seemed Celestia just wouldn't let her win this. She sat on her flank, staring off into the distance. She heard Scootaloo come from behind her. It ain't fair! Applebloom brought her hoof down angrily. It let out a loud clop noise as it struck the paved sidewalk they sat upon. Let's just go back to Sweet Apple Acres. Y'all can sleep over at my house tonight. She started to get up and head home, defeated. Scootaloo couldn't let this happen. She'd waited far too long and came too close to give up now. She just needed to come up with a way to get Applebloom to try harder. Our cutie marks! She yelled out suddenly. Applebloom turned to face her, glancing at her flank to see what her friend was talking about. What about them? Applebloom inquired. One of our special talents is being movie critics, the Orange Pegasus replied, a smile on her face. She was incredibly confident that Applebloom would cave in, especially if she could possibly get a cutie mark. She'd caved in before. Like that time they played Truth or Dare. Applebloom, we have to see that movie. It's a matter of getting our cutie marks, she said, a serious look on her face. Applebloom looked at her, biting down on her lip. Okay, fine. But how are we going to get in there? Scootaloo put a clever smile on her face. Leave it to me. Next, please, Ticketmaster said aloud. He waited calmly for another patron to walk to the ticket booth. Next, please, he called out, louder this time. Ticketmaster waited, growing increasingly impatient. He looked down at his forehoof to check his watch when suddenly he heard a bang at the ticket counter. He looked up to find a large brown overcoat standing before him, the pony inside completely hidden. It wore an oversized Stetson hat that covered its face, only its silhouette visible. Two tickets to 1 in the hoof, please. The mysterious pony cleared its throat to make it sound deeper than it had originally started. Ticketmaster smiled, detecting the situation immediately. 2 tickets, huh? For 1 pony. The pony before him began to wobble slightly as if in confusion. He could hear his voice softly whispering. Ticketmaster only smiled more. Make that one ticket, sir. The pony finished inside the overcoat. The pony fished inside its overcoat for a bag of bits and dropped it on the counter. Sorry, Phillies, but your bits aren't good here. You know you can't see this movie. I don't know what you're talking about. The pony began nervously. Look, just take off your coat and I won't have to call your parents. Ticketmaster reached over the counter to remove the pony's hat. Sir, what are you doing? I want to speak to your manager. The pony cried frantically as it tried to turn and escape Ticketmaster's grasp. Ticketmaster swiped off the hat, revealing a confused mare with buck teeth. She glared at him ferociously. Ticketmaster smiled sheepishly and produced a ticket for the film. Free of charge, ma'am. Hope you enjoy your movie. She walked away from him angrily, muttering her discontent under her breath. Applebloom and Scootaloo watched the whole scene unfold while waiting in line for the ticket booth. How are you going to get in there if he's checking ponies? Applebloom said, disappointed. She tore off the large fake moustache that sat on her upper lip and threw it on the ground. He'll never believe us with these costumes. Scootaloo noticed the power growing on her friend's face. Ah, fine. She scoffed and removed the large rainbow-streaked clown wig that sat upon her purple mane. Dressing old was a dumb idea anyway. The sun had long since set, leaving a glowing moon in its wake. Ticketmaster looked out the window of the movie theatre, waiting for his shift to end. It had been at least 10 hours since he clocked in. Normally he would have been let out by 4 hours prior, but Cheap Seats had called out sick, leaving him to cover the shift. Only a few hours left. He checked his watch and sighed heavily. It had just turned 9, meaning that there was one more showing of One in the Hoof and another late-night Pinkles and Poodle before freedom. Both in half an hour. Hey! He snapped back to reality and looked down... Oh. I don't know. And looked down from the counter to find Scootaloo standing before him. She wore a kind smile on her face. What's up? The orange filly chirped at the stallion. Well, I'm waiting to get out of here. I'm beat. He yawned and stretched his shoulders. What are you doing here? Oh, I just thought I'd say hi. You seemed kind of lonely. Ticketmaster smiled at the filly's thoughtfulness. Suddenly he stopped. Wait. He began to rack his brain. Something didn't add up. Weren't you here with the Applebloom, now! The filly cried out, startling the stallion behind the counter. Applebloom hopped up from her position, crouching in front of the counter with a pocket watch dangling from her mouth. Without hesitation, she slowly swung it back and forth before his eyes. In his confusion, Ticketmaster eyed the golden watch swinging before him, its shiny casing glowing, and light reflecting from the fluorescent bulbs above. He tried to look away, but instead found himself continuously moving his eyes back to the watch, following its path in the air. You're getting sleepy, the orange filly was beginning to say now. The Ticketmaster felt his eyes grow heavy. He was pretty tired. Very sleepy. He closed his eyes slowly, darting them open every now and then, attempting to keep consciousness. Yeah, you're getting sleepy. His eyes shot open. The cream-coloured filly's accent seemed to take him away from the watch. Applebloom, shut up! You'll wake him up! Sorry, Scootaloo. You're getting sleepy again. Whatever semblance of consciousness he had regained from Applebloom's interruption was long gone by now. He found himself drifting away and finally decided to give in. Bam! The fillies watched the Ticketmaster's head smash onto the counter as if he were comatose. He was snoring loudly, a drip of drool already forming at the edge of his lips. Scootaloo smiled wildly at Applebloom, who trotted to her side. When I clamp my hooves together, you will print my friend and I 2 tickets for One in the Hoof, Scootaloo calmly commanded her victim. She turned to Applebloom. You ready to see the greatest movie of all time? Applebloom squeaked eagerly and turned her attention to the ticket counter. Can't let You one in the hoof? Too risky for fillies? The sleeping pony called out unconsciously. Scootaloo and Applebloom exchanged glances and screamed out in frustration as they turned to huddle up outside. Ticketmaster continued snoring, smiling faintly as he did so. After that power nap, Ticketmaster was wide awake. He kept his eyes open for two pesky fillies that couldn't seem to take no for an answer, but there was no way he'd let them see the movie and be responsible for rotting their innocence. The innocent little minds. His eyes scanned the layout of the movie theatre, stopping at every location they could be hiding. The last viewing for One in a Hoof had started a short while ago, so he knew that the two were bound to try again. At the corner of his eye, he noticed two silhouettes standing outside. Ticketmaster smiled victoriously. Too easy, he thought to himself. He stared at them for several minutes, waiting for them to make a move for the theatre. What are they planning? One of the silhouettes fell against the window, revealing it was in fact a two-dimensional cutout of the cream-coloured filly. Ticketmaster began to worry, wondering where the fillies were. He hopped the counter and began to look around the theatre lobby, hoping to find them hiding, as long as they weren't in the actual movie. Oh, Celestia, no! He spoke to himself. He had recently run to the bathroom, leaving his post unsupervised. They could have snuck in while he was occupied. Sweat poured down his face as his eyes searched every last corner of the lobby for the fillies. Shh! Ticketmaster's ears perked up. He could have sworn he heard a pony, not a a filly, making a shushing noise. He turned abruptly to find several bits sitting atop the ticket counter. Out of the corner of his eye he saw the two fillies creeping stealthily towards the film, crawling on the floor and ducking behind various planters and garbage cans that made up the lobby. "You two get out of here now!" he screamed. They jumped into the air in surprise and darted out of the movie theatre, stopping only to get their bits. The movie was now almost over and Ticketmaster was standing beside the counter. He glared at the doors, waiting for their return. There was no way they'd give up so easily. He hadn't moved in almost an hour, silently guarding the lobby from unwanted intrusion. Charge! Applebloom and Scootaloo burst through the doors and dashed toward the theatre where the movie was playing. Ticketmaster attempted to block them, but they quickly manoeuvred around him by spreading away in different directions. He fell to the floor after attempting to swipe Scootaloo and watch them approach the movie. "No!" he bellowed as he rose back to his horse. He galloped at full speed toward them, gaining at their heels. "Applebloom, manoeuvre 2-3 Echo!" Scootaloo yelled to her friend. She nodded and fell to the floor, letting out a small pained yelp. Ticketmaster stopped at her side and looked down at Applebloom. Her mane was disheveled? Something like that. From the fall, knocking her trademark ribbon from her head. "Kid, are you okay?" he asked. She turned to face Ticketmaster and put on a pout. She felt his heart beginning to explode. "I don't know. I think I might have hurt my hoof." She raised her right hoof into the air and wobbled it gently, wincing as she did so. The frown on her face only deepened, her eyes becoming teary. Ticketmaster began to feel bad for the filly, even going as far to pick her up off the ground. Why won't you let us see the movie, mister?" she asked innocently, the pout remaining on her face. He looked down into her eyes, feeling the gaze warm his heart with its overwhelming cuteness. He tried to look away. I can't take it." He fell to his haunches. "You two can go see the movie. Just please stop being so cute." Applebloom instantly stopped pouting and smiled at the Ticketmaster. She softly patted his mane and joined Scootaloo in rushing into the theatre. "Finally!" Scootaloo cried, overjoyed that they had finally made it. "It may be the end, but at least we can see some of it." The two fillies trotted casually to a pair of free seats and sat down. A brown stallion wearing a doctor's coat appeared on the screen. "Miss Jones?" he said stoically to a bedridden mare nearby. Another stallion was leaning on her bedpost, lovingly clasping her husband in his. "Yes, Doctor?" She seemed nervous. "Do you have the test results back?" "Yes, I do." He began flipping through papers attached to a clipboard. "You don't have ponypox," he concluded, with a smile on his face. The couple in the hospital bed seemed overjoyed and hugged. Scootaloo and Applebloom exchanged disgusted looks. "Is this the right movie?" Applebloom asked her friend. She was met with several hushing sounds from other ponies. "But I have some bad news," the doctor began again. The couple stopped their celebration. "Miss Jones, you have cancer." "What? But I was tested for cancer. You said I didn't have it." Hang on. Let me just listen to the freaking phone. Oh god, I hate this. Sorry, this is... Okay, I don't even know who it is. Don't know. Right, where was I? "Is this the right movie?" Applebloom asked her friend. She was met with several hushing sounds from other ponies. "But oh, damn it. You didn't let me finish. You don't have regular cancer. No, no, no. You have zombie cancer." Applebloom and Scootaloo sat, bored and confused. The greatest movie ever seemed to be a bust. Suddenly the screen faded to another scene set several days in the future. The mare was at home, lying in a bed. The stallion was previously by her side, was now entering her room, a lit candle illuminating the dark room the dying mare was lying in. "I know we never got the chance to be married," he began, placing the candle down, "but it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the honeymoon." Scootaloo and Applebloom made gaggy noises as the two ponies leaned into a kiss. A funky bass line began playing, setting the romantic tone for the scene. "Scootaloo, what's he doing?" Applebloom began to ask, confused as to what she was seeing. The stallion was jumping onto the bed, making out ferociously with the mare. She moaned loudly. "What's he doing with the lamp? Oh, sweet Celestia!" Applebloom stared at the screen, slack-jawed. Scootaloo was cowering in her chair, unable to comprehend the horrifying sexual acts the ponies were committing before her. "Oh, Randall, maybe we should get the dog up here." "What?" With that, Scootaloo and Applebloom fled the room, screaming, leaving the horrors behind them. They sat in a corner, huddled together, trying to unsee what they had just recently seen, burying their heads in their hooves. The two shook in a catatonic state for nearly half an hour when the movie let out, ponies pouring outside. I can't believe the zombie had 6 heads," one pony said. Truly a testament to true love. "I wish my husband would fly all the way to Las Pegasus for me. That dog sure was hot." Out of the crowd of voices, the pair suddenly heard a familiar one. "Applebloom..." What? Who's this? "Applebloom, what y'all doing here? Weren't you and Scootaloo sleeping over at Sweetie Belle's?" Applebloom and Scootaloo looked up from their hoofs to find Applejack in front of them. She wore a bemused expression on her face, clearly surprised to see her sister and friend at the movie theatre. Rainbow Dash stood next to her and with a wing draped over her. Rainbow Dash stood next to her with a wing draped over her. Over Applejack and a smile on her face. "Hey Squirt, you didn't try to see that movie, did you?" she asked Scootaloo. Applebloom and Scootaloo exchanged glances, knowing that the jig was up. "We're sorry, guys," Scootaloo said, dropping her head. "Yeah, we should have listened to you, Applejack. That movie sure wasn't meant for us to see." Applebloom shuddered at the thought of the scene they had walked in on. Worse than that time Scootaloo and her played Truth and Dare. "Well, if you're really sorry, then I guess you wouldn't mind helping Big Macintosh and I buck apples tomorrow instead of playing with your friends," Applejack replied sternly, yet softly. She placed a kind hand on her sister's shoulder and gave her a forgiving smile. "Wait, what are you two doing here?" Scootaloo asked out of the blue. Applejack and Rainbow looked at each other. "Well, I went to visit Sweet Apple Acres today when Applejack told me about the movie you two were trying to see. Since she's always working, I asked her out to have a nice meet. Movie night with me. Applejack grinned toward the fillies and gave a playful punch to Rainbow Dash, who took it, blushing. Let me get this straight. You two are on a date? Applebloom asked, giving a confused look to the mares. Rainbow Dash smiled and squeezed her wing tight around Applejack. The love she felt for the earth pony next to her was extreme. She had waited a long time to get the courage to ask her out on a date, and it all seemed so natural. It was a perfect night. She opened her mouth to reply when suddenly she felt Applejack break out from under her. Applejack fell to the floor laughing, tears pouring down her cheeks as she gasped for air. You two fillies are gonna kill me, I swear. Just like y'all. We were having a friend's night out. She stood up and wrapped her hoofs around Applebloom's neck, giving her a noogie. Ha, date. Just wait till Big Mac hears that. He'll sure get a kick out of it. Come on, you two. Let's get out of here. Scootaloo, you can sleep over at our house tonight if you want. All right, she cheered happily. The three trotted slowly out of the movie theatre, laughing and chatting. Rainbow Dash stood alone in the same spot. A look of shock remained on her face as she watched the three leave the movie theatre towards Sweet Apple Acres. She sighed heavily, feeling a warm tear dropping down her cheek. Friends' night out. And there's Rainbow Dash with the forever alone face. Alright, that was Applebloom and Scootaloo Go to a Movie. Okay, well, I haven't really got much to say about it, really. It was pretty self-explanatory. Rather cliché with their tactics of getting into the theatre, but, you know, sometimes you need to go back to the classics every now and then. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I kind of did. The mild shipping was, you know, I'm not a huge fan of shipping, I'll be honest, but, anyway, I don't particularly mind that. But anyway, thanks for listening. Keep on spreading the magic of friendship, and I'll see you next time.